Hey kiddies, it's Triple Feature Tuesday once again, and this week we're going to look at Western white guys pretending to be Eastern people in New York. That's right, these are three movies in which white guys from America and England are pretending to be Eastern fellows from India, Israel, and countries made up to basically represent everything us Americans believe the Middle East represents. And yet, they all end up in New York. And there's odd recurring trends other than the, ending up in New York. Because, there's always the fish out of water jokes, but there's also the lying to their romantic leads and the consequences thereof. And there's, the implied racism throughout the whole thing, because all of these characters could have been played by actors that have the actual background of the characters, but nope, we went with white guys, because white people. So, our menu is going to include Short Circuit 2, You Don't Mess with the Zohan, and The Dictator. Short Circuit 2, much like Krull, is one of those movies that was on a lot when I was a kid, and it was only when I watched it as an adult that I realized, this is sort of horrible, isn't it? Not just the whole, Fisher Stevens playing Ben Javeri, but just, it's not a great movie. As much as I adore Johnny Five and don't understand why we never got toys of Johnny Five. Seriously, why did we never get toys of Johnny Five? There were toys in the movie, and yet these toys were never made and sold to people like me. Do you know how much I would have spent on them? Short Circuit 2 is about Johnny Five coming to New York to help his old pal Ben Javeri from the first movie, even though in the first movie he was Ben Jabutia. Ben Javeri is played by Fisher Stevens. Fisher Stevens is a self-described Jewish actor from Chicago. In the original Short Circuit, he was hired to play Ben Jabutia, but at the onset, the character was not supposed to be Indian. And then Fisher Stevens was fired from the first movie, and Bronson Pinchot was going to play Ben. And then Bronson Pinchot was either fired or quit, and then they brought Ben back and told him, okay, now you're an Indian. So they had him put on brown contacts, had him grow a beard, dyed his beard and hair jet black, and put him in brown face. And thus a character of questionable good taste was created. And, it almost works in the first one. Okay, I say works. It's not as, in your face, horrifically offensive, because Ben is not the main character at all. In the first one, it's all about Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy, coming to grips with the fact that Johnny Five is alive. And Ben is just there. Oh, God, I can't even pretend. He's basically the Mickey Rooney of the movie. He's playing, I mean, there's no way for me to defend any of these characters without appearing as racist as the people that made the movie, so I'm not going to defend them. I will say I'm embarrassed that I've enjoyed these movies to varying degrees. So, in the second one, oddly enough, Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy didn't come back. Even though Ali Sheedy does do an uncredited vocal cameo, Johnny Five has come to New York to help Ben and Michael McKean make a boatload of Johnny Five toys for the Christmas rush. And of course, hijinks ensue. And they're really great 80s comedy hijinks. Remember in the 80s when every comedy had to be intricately involved in, say, a murder mystery, or some sort of robbery ring? It's kind of fun. And so in this one, Ben, Michael McKean, and Johnny Five are, using a warehouse that's actually supposed to be used for a big vault heist, and so they get mixed up in that. But that's not our concern. Our concern is Fisher Stevens continuing to play Ben Javeri, and you can't really blame Fisher Stevens because, he's an actor. Work is work. But man, why did these people want to make this movie with this character and this actor playing this character? As oddly charming as he is, I mean, I like Fisher Stevens, so I don't hate him as much as I probably should. In this one, we have New York, which, by way of Toronto, Canada. I believe it was Toronto. I know it's Canada. The movie was filmed in Canada, pretending to be New York and, failing miserably. It's a shame about the casting, because you do get a lot of interesting ideas about, becoming an American citizen between Ben and Johnny Five, and then, what determines personhood, and then what determines American personhood. And that stuff gets completely flushed away by having a white guy play Ben. We have our first instance of our immigrant main character lying to his love interest. He's on a date with Sandy, and he is has Johnny Five playing Cyrano de Bergerac trying to help him out and, you know, pretend to be more charming than he is. And it's only after he reveals who he is that Sandy starts liking him better and wants him to stop putting on this front. This will be interesting because in the other two movies, the reverse happens because, well, probably because Ben doesn't murder people, as do the other two characters in our triple feature. So, yeah, Short Circuit 2. Come for the puppetry, stay for the racism. You don't mess with the Zohan. I did not see this in the theater, but when it popped up on HBO, it was surprisingly enjoyable. I really like the idea of Adam Sandler and John Turturro playing Israeli and Palestinian superheroes, respectively. This movie doesn't make a lick of sense, but the overall silliness and the complete rejection of anything resembling reality sort of work for it. If only because if you don't like the first, like, 2-3 minutes of Adam Sandler as Zohan going around and being amazing at everything, just stop watching the movie. You're not going to like it. Adam Sandler was born in Brooklyn, New York, but he is Jewish, as you might recall from the Hanukkah song. So he is at least playing a Jewish fellow. He's just not, you know, Israeli, but he's playing an Israeli. John Turturro is playing a Palestinian, John Turturro being an Italian-American. There's a lot of people not playing what they aren't. Even Emmanuel Shikri, Adam Sandler's love interest, is sort of in the same boat as Sandler in terms of she was raised Orthodox Jewish, but she is from Canada. And I think she's supposed to be playing another Israeli-American. I forget. Anyway. Zohan, as I said before, is an IDF superhero and is amazing. They have him doing some ridiculous stunts, and every bit of it is hilarious, especially when John Turturro shows up with as many superpowers as Adam Sandler has, and the fighting and the ridiculousness. It's just really a lot of fun. The whole movie was based on the old SNL skits by Robert Smigel, the, like, Sabra Price is Right, and I believe Sabra Jeopardy. There's like disco, good. Those sketches they decided should be a movie, which admittedly is worked for so many other Saturday Night Live movies and has, you know, also not worked for as many Saturday Night Live movies. The Saturday Night Live movie idea is we take what works as a 5-minute sketch and stretch it out into an hour and a half, and maybe it's not going to be annoying as hell. This one probably annoys the shit out of a lot of people, but I just thought it was hilarious throughout. Everybody is playing broad Middle Eastern stereotype guys. Just basically all of these movies are about Apu, the Hank Azaria character from The Simpsons. Apu is played by yet another white guy. There are so many great Israeli and Indian and other Middle Eastern actors out there. Why can't we hire any of them to play any of these characters? It's absurd. And Rob Schneider playing yet another broad ethnic stereotype, so it's gotta be an Adam Sandler movie. But again, this was just really kind of fun. All Zohan wants to do is stop killing people in the name of his country and come to America and become a hairdresser and make everything silky smooth. And, you know, sex up all the older ladies that frequent his hair salon. And, you know, all Fatouche the Phantom, John Turturro's character, wants to do is open a shoe store. So, I mean, everybody just wants to live their lives. If only they could stop, you know, murdering people for religious reasons, which that is a fairly good message. And we should also stop, you know, hating people for completely racist reasons, which is why Dave Matthews turns out to be, like, the worst character in the whole thing. Or is it Michael Buffer who's just trying to get everybody out because he wants to, you know, exploit land resources, a la, you know, certain other New Yorkers that we may or may not have been in the news lately. Yeah, a lot of good people to hate, but, you know, at the end, I think what saves the movie for me, despite all of the horrible, broad stereotypes about Eastern people, is that the message of the movie is everybody putting aside their differences and finding all the things that we like about each other and, you know, being nice to each other at the end of the day. It's just, we could have done this with actors of that ethnicity, so we wouldn't have had white people playing yet another ethnicity, which at least they weren't in as much makeup. I don't know that anybody was actually in any sort of complexion-altering makeup a la Fisher Stevens in Short Circuit, so good, I guess. It's just this, I'm not gonna lie, this triple feature makes me very uncomfortable to talk about because I think I know what I'm trying to say. I'm probably just not saying it well, and or just the very idea of me pointing any of this out makes me as racist as anybody else. So please keep watching my videos after this and, you know, send all your hate mail to my YouTube channel. And finally, we have The Dictator with Sacha Baron Cohen playing yet another foreign character. This time he is playing Admiral General Aladdin, the dictator for life of Wadiyistan. Cohen gets away with a lot of stuff in this movie, mainly because it is a black comedy satire aimed at all the really, really terrible things probably a lot of us in America believe without, you know, having any actual basis other than just racism. Aladdin comes to New York to address the UN, but he is replaced a la Prince and the Pauper type of shenanigans by Ben Kingsley, who is his uncle, who is yet another... Sacha Baron Cohen is born and raised in London, so he is not from the fictional country of Wadiyistan, so at least he's not specifically making fun of a particular country, but, you know, it's really just broadly about the Middle East. Ben Kingsley is another Englishman playing, you know, against his ethnicity, which, Ben Kingsley at least has an Academy Award-winning history of doing that, you know, with Gandhi. And so Aladdin is forced to live as a commoner in New York and learn lessons about life from his love interest, Anna Faris, who is super-duper progressive hippie woman, and really a lot of fun. I like Anna Faris in this movie. She's really funny, and she can do so much with her facial expressions. With her as the, you know, nominal straight man of the film, it really works out well. Generally, we have the comedy that Cohen has become known for, like with the Ali G and the Borat sketches and movies, where it's just like really, really uncomfortable, but completely honest and truthful bits about Western culture, in this particular case American. It all culminates in a really great speech at the end to the world at large, where he wishes that America could embrace dictatorship and talks about all the things you can get away with, and they are of course all the things that our country does, because we're a horrible hypocritical country, because we keep talking about equality and making sure everybody has their right to pursue their dream, and yet we keep putting white guys in movies like this, or, you know, just changing characters completely so they can be white guys. I mean, Ghost in the Shell movie, I'm looking at you. Don't get me wrong, I understand the argument, at least for Zohan and The Dictator, that these movies wouldn't get made if it weren't for the white guys that wanted to make them and star in them. It's just, you know, but Mel Brooks wanted to make a movie about race relations in America by way of a Western film, and he was able to do that not only without the star power of Richard Pryor, as was originally intended, but he managed to do it also without the movie starring himself in, say, blackface. But he is dressed, painted up like an Indian at one point. God damn it, what is it with white people just dressing up as other races? I mean, I get it, we're the vanilla of all of the world, but man, we just gotta live with it, you know? Good. Again, this triple feature makes me very uncomfortable, and if you hate me at the end of this, you're completely entitled to, and I won't disagree with you. But please keep watching, because next month is October, and that means horror movies, and we can all get behind horror movies, can't we? There's nothing really uncomfortable socially about liking horror movies, is there? I'm really in trouble. See you later.